Welcome to the wild world of Gen Z, where global tensions become TikTok trends and potential world wars turn into meme material. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into how the internet's youngest generation is processing some of the most serious geopolitical events of our time through the lens of dark humor, viral content, and surprisingly thoughtful coping mechanisms. Over the past few years, every time international tensions spike, something fascinating happens online. Instead of panic or traditional news consumption, Gen Z floods social media with memes about World War III. But is this just irreverent humor, or is there something deeper going on? Let's start with the facts. World War III is trending online as Iran-Israel tensions escalate, but instead of panic, Gen Z is responding with memes, bread loaves, and dark humor as digital coping mechanisms. This isn't a one-time thing. Every major geopolitical crisis of the past 5 years has followed the same pattern. Whether it was the initial Iran tensions in 2020, recent escalations in the Middle East, or rising global conflicts, the response is predictably unpredictable. Fears of World War III spiraled across TikTok, Instagram, and X this week after Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, sparking a surge in panic posts, jokes about a military draft, and doomsday memes. But here's what's fascinating.
What's up, foos? We out here in the middle of fucking nowhere. This is where all those late nights playing COD come in handy. Time to run it up.
Type shit!
Yo, it's me and my squad in the cut. Trenches in Iran, ain't no Starbucks. Buddy on the crate doing new TikTok stunts.
Let's go!
Yo, we in the middle of a live op right behind cover. Watch this.
I brought this fucking switch with me.
Where'd you get that from?
I brought it from O Block.
I just sent 5 to the gulag, picked up their loadout and teabagged them. I'm calling in the airstrike right now. We got that victory royale, fam. Not gonna lie, I thought we were cooked back there, but we showed those foos what's up.
These aren't just random jokes. There's a pattern, a psychology, and a generational response that tells us something profound about how young people process existential threats in the digital age. The contrast is stark. On one side, you have serious news outlets discussing military strategies and diplomatic consequences. On the other, you have teenagers asking, "Is this going to affect my Shein order?" and creating elaborate outfit plans for hypothetical battlefields. Now, before we dive into the memes themselves, let's understand what's really happening here. This isn't just Gen Z being flippant about serious issues. For Gen Z and anyone else who is very online, memes are just a means of coping with an unruly, unstable world. Think about it from their perspective. This is a generation that grew up with school shooting drills as normal, climate change as an existential backdrop, economic uncertainty as a given, social media as their primary information source, global crises live-streamed in real time. Obviously, there's a sense of palpable fear, and I don't think any of us were processing that war was really an option, said one 19-year-old. We weren't brushing it off, but we were joking about it because what else can you do? This generation has lived through more global crises in their formative years than any generation in recent history. They've watched adults fail to solve climate change, prevent school shootings, or maintain global stability. In that context, memes aren't disrespectful. They're a survival mechanism. This trend isn't merely meme culture gone wild. It reflects a psychological response to anxiety, a generational coping strategy, and a new form of digital political engagement. Now let's get to the good stuff, the memes themselves. And trust me, they're more sophisticated than you might think. Caterbility 1. Draft-dodging humor. Some memes play on people's fear of the possibility of a draft. One reads, "When they start recruiting men for World War III," and displays a male teacher wearing a wig, making a visibly crude attempt to appear as a woman. These memes tap into genuine anxiety about military service while using absurdist humor to deflect the fear. Category lifestyle concerns. Then there are the hilariously mundane concerns. Memes about whether online shopping will be affected, whether their favorite influencers will still post content, or how they'll maintain their skincare routines during wartime. These might seem shallow, but they're actually anchoring normal life concerns against the abstract concept of global war. Category 3. Generational trauma. Some of the most poignant memes reference how previous generations handled war versus how Gen Z approaches it. There's a running joke about how their great-grandparents stormed beaches, while they're Googling how to avoid the draft and planning their outfits for potential military service. Category 4. Dark optimism. Perhaps most interesting are the memes that blend apocalyptic scenarios with oddly optimistic takes. Jokes about finally having an excuse to not pay student loans, or how global conflict might solve their social anxiety by giving them bigger problems to worry about. The platform matters. These memes aren't just scattered randomly across the internet. They're carefully adapted for each social media ecosystem. TikTok. This is where the most creative content lives. Gen Z's response is worrying about outfit ideas and Keisha remixes. TikTok World War III content ranges from elaborate "get ready with me for war" videos to darkly comedic skits about receiving draft notices via push notification. Twitter/X. Here, the humor tends to be more text-based and punchy, quick one-liners, reaction GIFs, and threading jokes that build on each other. The platform's real-time nature makes it perfect for immediate reactions to breaking news. Instagram. Stories and posts tend to be more polished, with carefully curated meme carousels and aesthetic takes on apocalyptic themes. This is where you'll find the most Pinterest-worthy, end-of-world content. What's fascinating is how the same basic anxieties get expressed differently across platforms, showing how Gen Z intuitively understands digital communication formats and adapts their coping mechanisms accordingly. Of course, not everyone finds this funny. To some people from older generations, this all might seem terribly ignorant, inappropriate, and glib. The criticism is loud and consistent. How can young people joke about something so serious?
I ran. I can barely walk.
The generational divide. Older generations often view this humor as disrespectful to veterans and active military, trivializing serious geopolitical issues, showing a lack of understanding about war's real consequences, demonstrating privilege and disconnect from global realities. The defense. Gen Z responds that humor has always been a coping mechanism during dark times. They're not making light of actual war, but processing the anxiety around it. Traditional news consumption hasn't prevented conflicts. They're engaging with serious topics just in their own way. Gen Z says they're a mix of comic relief and insensitivity. Many young people acknowledge that the line between coping and insensitivity can be thin, but argue that their generation is processing unprecedented global uncertainty in the only way they know how. Here's where it gets really interesting. These memes aren't just about war. They're about how a generation raised on the internet processes existential threats that predate digital culture. Information overload. Gen Z receives more information about global conflicts than any generation in history. They see real-time updates, graphic footage, and constant analysis. Memes become a way to process this overwhelming information stream. Lack of agency. Unlike previous generations, who might have felt they could influence global events through voting, protesting, or activism, Gen Z often feels powerless in the face of global systems. Memes become a form of agency. They can't stop wars, but they can control the narrative around their anxiety. Community building. These memes create communities of shared anxiety. When someone posts a WWIII meme, they're not just making a joke. They're saying, "I'm scared too," and "we're in this together." The comment sections become support groups disguised as humor threads. Cultural documentation. In a weird way, these memes are also historical documents. They're showing future historians exactly how one generation processed global uncertainty in real time, creating a cultural record of collective anxiety. So, what does this all mean? Are Gen Z's WRIII memes a sign of a generation that's lost touch with reality, or are they pioneering a new form of collective emotional processing? Humor has always been used as a way to cope with a scary world. The medium is the only thing that's changed. From court jesters to wartime comedy shows, humans have always used humor to process the unprocessings. The difference now is scale, speed, and global participation. A meme can go from conception to viral in hours, creating instant communities around shared fears. Gen Z isn't more callous than previous generations. They're just more connected, more informed, and more willing to share their anxiety publicly. As we face an uncertain future, these memes might actually be showing us something important about resilience, community, and the human capacity to find light in darkness. They're not solving geopolitical crises, but they're helping millions of young people feel less alone in their anxiety. Whether you find them hilarious or horrifying, one thing is clear. Gen Z is writing the rulebook for how digital natives process global threats. And that rulebook? It's written in memes. Thanks for watching, and remember, in a world that often feels like it's falling apart, sometimes the best thing you can do is laugh with your friends, even if those friends are strangers on the internet, and the laughs are tinged with existential dread.
My first World War, a little nervous. Y'all acting like I'm gonna let this happen. Can we be so dead out for 5 minutes? This is why no one takes Gen Z serious, bro.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own thoughts about how your generation processes global anxiety, because this conversation is just getting started.